Some say romance is dead, and for the women married to these presidents, they may have definitely felt that. Hi, my name is Jessa, and please join me as we look together top 10 American presidents who had secret affairs. And I gave you guys a riddle in the last video I was in, and the riddle was, what tastes better than it smells? The answer is your tongue. Your next riddle will be at the end of this video. Number 10, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Despite being married to one of the most notable first ladies, Eleanor Roosevelt, dear old Franklin was getting a little too distracted with the presence of Lucy Mercer. Apparently Lucy was Eleanor's social secretary, as most of these scandals always seem to surround men with their secretaries, and the affair lasted from early 1910 until 1918 when Eleanor caught the two. She discovered a packet of steamy penthouse-like love letters from Lucy to Franklin, and Eleanor was deeply hurt and devastated by the revelation of the affair. She offered Franklin a divorce, but he declined, and they decided to stay married, but their relationship was forever altered. Although the affair officially ended, Lucy and Franklin remained as close friends throughout their lives, and Lucy would later become a frequent visitor to the White House, even during Franklin's presidency, which I can't imagine how Eleanor was feeling, but hey, she was probably like, nah, I got things to do. After all, Eleanor Roosevelt was a strong and independent woman, channeling her energy into various social and political causes. She became a prominent advocate for civil rights and women's rights and other progressive issues. The affair was under public knowledge until the reveal of a biography work that came through, and well, the rest, as we know, is in history. Number 9, Warren G. Harding. No, the middle name G does not stand for goat, it might stand for something else. Glum, grimy, gross, whatever, I'll think of another one. But Warren G. Harding was the 29th President of the United States, serving only between 1921 and 1923 till he had passed away from a heart attack. He did a lot of front porch campaigns where he'd give large speeches in crowds in front of his porch in Ohio. But of course, like all presidencies, there's a scandal or so that happens. For Warren, one notable one was a woman named Nan Brighton, and they had a spicy love affair. Nan Brighton claimed that she and Harding had a romantic relationship that spanned several years, and she also claimed in some secret love letters that Harding fathered her daughter, Elizabeth Ann, born in 1919. Brighton later wrote in a book titled The President's Daughter, in which she detailed her relationship with Harding. The public had no idea until after Harding died, and by then the controversy went crazy. A court order was made for a blood test, and what do you know?
You are the father!
There was also apparently a lot of other rumors of other extramarital affairs, but it's up to debate. And Harding never actually acknowledged the relationship like all affairs because the scandal that he was in tainted his legacy, as the event had led him to the least successful in American history. Number 8, Grover Cleveland. The 22nd and also the 24th President of the US, serving non-consecutive terms, was held by Grover Cleveland. Most about Cleveland was how he gained a reputation for honesty and integrity, which earned him the nickname Grover the Good. During his first term, his administration is known for its efforts to combat corruption in government. But there was one major corrupted thing Grover did, and it was that he had a scandal involving an illegitimate child, one that had been buried by the media to protect his reputation as Grover the Good. But it seemed like that was a constant thing in history. Maria Halpin was the victim of an unwanted and violent advancement by Grover Cleveland and gave birth to a son. According to records, Grover was pretty consistent and pushy, and this was in the late 1800s, so in general women barely had any rights, and when he was taking her back where she stayed, in her own words she said, "by a use of force and violence and without my consent." She noted to authorities, and he told her that he was determined to ruin her even if it cost him $10,000, and 6 weeks later she discovered that she was pregnant. Her son was born in 1874, and when she tried to call out for justice, the smear campaign on Maria went buck wild, calling her a harlot, saying that she sleeps around and that it never happened, etc, etc. But then Grover did admit that he sent child support, and his own campaign even said that this affair happened before he was married, so what do you think? Number 7, William Henry Harrison. A short-term president in history, as there was many, also goes to William Henry Harrison. Apparently he only reigned as president for 32 days in 1841, only because he died due to pneumonia. But how does this tie into affairs? Well, he had one allegedly with his slave, Dilcia. And we'll talk about Thomas Jefferson in a minute, but it was a very common thing to do, both consensual and non-consensual, I need to add. According to civil rights activist Walter Francis White's family oral history, Harrison purportedly had 6 children with Dilcia. According to Walter, he concluded that he had not to be political advantages for Harrison to have out-of-wedlock slave children in his home. According to Harrison, allegedly gave 4 of Dilcia's children to his brother. His brother in turn is claimed to have sold the children to Joseph Pothoris, one of the earliest white settlers of La Grange, Georgia. Maria Harrison was a daughter of Dilcia and was allegedly fathered by William Henry Harrison, and to make things more complicated like all telenovelas, Maria Harrison is the grandmother of Walter Francis White, who apparently was an American civil rights activist who led the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and considering Walter could pass as a white white man during the lynchings of America's South, he could talk to both white men and black men. Either way, Walter was a strong advocate and supporter of federal anti-lynching bills, and to think his revolutionary stances was all able to come to fruition because Harrison couldn't keep his fruition in his pants. Number 6. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Also noted and highly respected military leader during the Second War, he was also responsible for the invasion of Normandy on D-Day. But aside his military success and his political advancement on civil rights, the enforcement of desegregation in schools, and the following remarks of the Supreme Court cases of Brown versus the Board of Education, he was also pretty advancing at winning hearts. Apparently he was very smitten, despite also being married, to his driver, Kay Smudsbury. But according to Kay, in her biography called Past Forgetting My Love Affair with Dwight D. Eisenhower, she said the affair was mostly filled with stolen kisses during long walks on the beach, horseback riding, golfing, holding hands, just a typical cute, very shy, innocent love affair. Although the evidence of historians feel like it's iffy, there was a moment of letters written by Eisenhower hinting that the affair as well in 1945. Apparently he also asked his general permission to divorce his wife so he could marry Kay instead. But alas, the summer night's Greece romance had to end eventually. Number 5. Lyndon B Johnson. Apparently this man had a few extramarital affairs during his time in office, as Lyndon B Johnson had an affair with this woman named Alice Glass, a Texan woman where the relationship lasted several years during Johnson's political career, and his wife, Lady Bird Johnson, had to face the challenges due to his disloyalty and infidelity. Despite the affairs, the Johnsons remained married until Lyndon died in 1973, and Johnson was adept at keeping his extramarital affairs private during his presidency. The information about his affairs became more widely known after he left office and was documented in various biographies and historical accounts. Despite his personal indiscretions, Johnson is often credited with significant achievements during his presidency, including the passing of civil rights and the voting rights, and his efforts to combat poverty through the Great Societal Programs. Number 4. Donald Trump. And when it comes to modern presidents and their affairs, we gotta talk about this one that went pretty hectic on the news for some time. During Donald Trump's time in office, there was allegations and rumors of extramarital affairs, and the most notable ones were two women, Stormy Daniels, an adult film actress, and Karen McDougal, a former Playboy model. Stormy mentioned an affair took place after he married Melania Trump in 2018, and she filed a lawsuit against Trump claiming that the non-disclosure agreement that she signed was actually invalid. Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, admitted to paying Daniels $130,000 as part of the agreement, and Trump had denied the affair. With Karen, she claimed that she had an affair as well with Donald Trump in 2006, around the same time the alleged encounter with Stormy Daniels. Karen alleged that the affair lasted for about 10 months, and she sold her story to the National Enquirer, but the tabloids just did not publish it. In 2018, McDougal, aka Karen, filed a lawsuit to be released from her non-disclosure agreement, and Trump once again denied the affair. Number 3. Bill Clinton. The way Bill works was a wild time in US politics, that's for sure, and it all happened when Monica Lewinsky was working as an intern in the White House between 1995 and 1997. Apparently the situation came to light when the harassment lawsuit filed by Paula Jones, a former Arkansas state employee. In this deposition, Clinton initially denied having an affair with Lewinsky, and the investigation led to impeachment proceedings against President Clinton. In 1998, he was impeached by the House of Representatives on charge of perjury and obstruction of justice relating to the affair, which was then acquitted on both charges, and he was able to complete his second term. The public response to the affair generated intense media coverage and public scrutiny. It also led to a national debate over issues of personal conduct, ethics, and roles of private behavior in public office. After initially denying the affair, President Clinton later publicly acknowledged it and apologized for his behavior. He expressed regret for the pain and embarrassment it caused his family, as well as the American people. Number 2. John F. Kennedy. Speaking of playboys, although he was heavily noted for his great achievements as well as his not so great ones, and as well as the unfortunate led to his assassination, John F. Kennedy was known to have affairs despite being married to the one and only Jackie Kennedy. One of the most famous alleged affairs was with Marilyn Monroe, the iconic actress and singer. While the extent and nature of the relationship are still debated, there is still evidence to suggest that they had some form of involvement. Kennedy was linked to other several women, including Judith Campbell Exner, a woman who claimed to have romantically involved with both Kennedy and a Chicago mob boss. Kennedy's marriage to Jacqueline Kennedy faced significant challenges due to his infidelity. Despite the affairs, Kennedys were married until John F. Kennedy's assassination in 1963. During his presidency, Kennedy's extramarital affairs were largely kept out of the public's eye, but eventually rumors do churn like mills, and some argue that his affairs was reflected of a different era in which the private lives of public figures were often kept more private. Finally, number 1. Thomas Jefferson. I mean, out of all presidents, I know a lot of ones are pretty spicy in their affairs, but Thomas Jefferson? Have you seen that skit on Key and Peele on Ancestry.com? You should watch it, cause that got me hollering. But yeah, the man who wouldn't free human beings of the chains of slavery, but would 100% have kids with those he enslaved, goes none other than TJ, aka Thomas Jefferson. At 14 years old, Sally Hemings was minding her business on the Monticello plantation when Thomas, age 44, engaged his weird out-of-pocket self on her. And on this day and age, we know that is extremely nasty and illegal. Sally Hemings was an enslaved child who was groomed and owned by Thomas Jefferson. And she was also the half-sister of Jefferson's late wife, Martha Jefferson. And because of this, Sally would then give birth to 6 children, and all who Thomas, instead of setting free considering they were his kids, also kept them as slaves on Monticello. Sally would also be a chambermaid to Jefferson despite being the mother of his illegitimate children, and it wasn't until 4 of the 6 6 children survived adulthood and decades of negotiation, Jefferson finally freed his kids. But for Sally, she was never freed. It wasn't until Jefferson's death she was allowed to live in Charlottesville in an unofficial freedom with her 2 sons, Madison and Edson, who were granted freedom in Jefferson's will. Well, who was your favorite adulterous president? Let me know. If not, I don't care. It's your life. Anyways, next riddle. I am present at the beginning of love, the start of life, and I am the end of evil. What am I? Be sure to put your answer in the comments below and I'll reveal the next answer in the next video. Top 10 real mermaid sightings in history that will leave you convinced. That's all for today. Thank you for joining me. My name is Jessa. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see your beautiful faces in the next one. Bye.